All righty. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. And it looks like I am lagging again. So,
Yeah.
why don't you quickly explain while I pop in and pop out real quick?
Okie doke. Okie doke. Hello, everyone. uh, you've got yours truly for a little while. Today, when my lovely co host gets back, we are going to be discussing the Ghibli film Princess Mononoke. Um, this is one of Miyazaki's, how best to describe it, a trilogy, well, one of the trilogies. Sort of goes along with the same sort of thing with Howl's Moving Castle. You've got this, Howl's Moving Castle, and I can't remember the other one off the top of my head, but the three of them explore the relationship of man with nature, sort of environmentalism and a little bit of anti-war stuck in with the rest of it. Anyway, my lovely co-host is back, and I'll let her carry on.
Sorry about that. We've been having some lagging issues. My weather over here has been kind of nasty. So, we've had high winds and everything else. Just wanted to basically say good morning. I'm not quite sure what you covered because I had to pop out real fast. But as far I heard you mentioned the possibilities of war. And one thing I wanted to quickly mention, yes, this is a Miyazaki film, but it is quite different with his philosophies of peace. This is the first, and I think the only movie that we have ever seen Miyazaki create so much violence in of mankind. Um,
I think it's
there,
the first one we've covered.
it's the first. Okay, sure. It's the first one definitely we've covered, and looking through all of the repertoire of Ghibli films, I don't think there are any others. But
Yeah, yeah.
we will come to that. I
Um,
mean, they've been touched on things.
I would
You
I
know.
would say that you have a similar level of violence in um, Howl's Moving Castle, and you certainly catch a flavour of violence, especially with the Second World War in Grave of the Fireflies.
You definitely do catch a good taste of that, but not where it's like visually in your face. With
No,
this one, you see it,
this is definitely more.
the arms come off, multiple headshots where the heads of the humans come off and different things. And
This
I
is
think
more.
that's the
Yeah,
first time. And
this
when,
what one could call a basically it's a Japanese. It's set in ancient Japan,
it
and
is a Japanese samurai movie,
yeah,
the
yeah,
best that we can explain it.
yeah.
Um, and even Miyazaki, when he okayed the trailers to be released to the theaters, he wanted it shown so parents who were used to animation and different things, even in Japan, he wanted it to be seen front and center. Parents, these are what your children will be watching. And even though he created it for children as well, because children need to be aware and not sheltered from what's going on in the world. That was his philosophy. You need to come at it with eyes open, but he still wanted the parents to know this is what we're going to be seeing.
Yeah. This is the world. This is not, sugar coated. This is
Right.
it. This is it in all its unpleasant technicolor.
Yeah.
Basically,
This is not Kiki's. This is
man's cruelty to man and man's cruelty to nature,
correct.
and
Definitely.
it shows.
Oh, it definitely shows. But I kind of have to say on another aspect, I find it of all of the Ghibli movies, I find it probably the most powerful, complex, and I would almost say exceedingly beautiful of all of his landscapes that he's ever done. And
Yeah,
that, you know,
yeah. I mean, when it first starts, it starts with the tribe far away in the east.
hmm
Um, and I got to be honest and say, when I first watched this, I wasn't really up on my Japanese history,
oh,
but then I learned a bit, not much, but a bit. And then I watched it again, and I suddenly realized that, yes, this is based on ancient Japanese myths, but also if you look at the very first Japanese, who were actually a tribe called the Ainu, they now live in Hokkaido. I think this is what the first tribe that you see in the film is based on. I think it's based on the Ainu.
Well, actually, yes and no. It is based on, and I actually did take notes on that particular one. Um, uh, Emishi. They were a real group that were from northern Japan, and that was the village that we originally went to.
Hmm.
Um, and they actually, some still do exist, but it's mostly in the, you're better at pronouncing this than I am, the Tokaho region. Do you know where that's at?
No, it sounds like basically it sounds like you've got um,
It's up in the north. It's one of the
yeah.
northern regions.
But no, the Ainu were what they were the original Japanese people. They were on the mainland of Hokkaido, and then they got moved. So they were on Hokkaido and the big main island. I can't remember the name of it, and they got pushed back onto Hokkaido, and that's where most of them are now. And they have all this regalia,
Mm-hmm.
as you can see when the film starts, and he's got the straw cloak on.
Correct.
The Ainu, they make their clothes from the reeds. They don't use cloth. It's made from the reeds.
So what you're saying is that they came before,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
because this particular group is a very ancient group, and
yeah.
the fact that they covered just a little bit of the history that they had been pushed back 500 years before, that was true. That wasn't anything that was made up by Miyazaki. That was an actual excerpt from history that he put in there.
Yeah. I would say that he's pulled in various parts of Japan's prehistory with the groups from prehistory and pulled them in, the strings from the Ainu and from the other groups that were there, that were slowly pushed north as the main, what is now we call the Japanese now, took over the main island. Because if you look at what the Ainu traditions are and their artwork, it mirrors a lot of what the Prince's tribe actually got onto, or actually gets on with.
Here's the thing, though. Uh, Two things. One, did you know that it was rumors going around for many years that there's actually a real legend of Princess Mononoke, but Miyazaki wound up and saying no, it was not. It wasn't based off of anything real. It was a collaboration of a lot of different cultures that were put into it. And he said a lot of the different mythology and the cultures inspired it, but there was no actual one true Princess Mononoke that it was based on. And even the title Princess Mononoke is not actually accurate.
Yeah. Well, the prince, it comes from the Emishi, also called the Ibisu and Izo, and they were
Hmm.
people who lived in the northern parts of Honshu, present day Japan. That's the north of the big island in the Tohoku. Yeah, as you said, in the
Yeah.
Tohoku region. Yeah, that's in the north of the main island. And the Ainu, who were on the main island, now live on the other big northern island,
Right.
Hokkaido.
Yes. Um, what I like is that he does incorporate so much of little bits of history and a lot of mythology into doing this, and
Yeah,
even some. places that he has gone and he's researched that he wants to use, this particular setting for. He has actually gone and researched different parts of the country to see,
Yeah,
okay, how exactly would that look?
exactly. I mean, the period that the film is set in is the Muromachi period, also known as the Ashitaka period, and that sort of starts around 1336 to almost 1573.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Um, and that is the basic historical period that it's set in.
True, and
So,
at the same time, they were also having, like, I had brought into a lot of the mythology was very heavy back then, more so than it became in later centuries. And one of the first scenes that we see, of course, is the very, well, we can't tell at first what he is. All he looks like is a demon, coming after the three children and just basically coming straight toward the village in a rampage. And his name was Nago. But the thing is, that whole thing was just covered in, I guess you would say, worms. And Miyazaki pulled that out of two or three different mythology legends because the worms, quote unquote, uh, were a representation of the curse and the poison that Nyaga had gotten because of the bullet, well, the lump of iron, which of course we know today as a bullet. It was rather rough, and with all that pain and that frustration, wound up turning into anger, and anger you could not control, which gives us our first actual message in the movie of what, if you carry so much hatred, it winds up poisoning you to the point you can't see. And then that poison and that hatred can spread to somebody else and infest somebody else with that. And those, that very first, comments were done within the first, what, 5 minutes of the movie when you see that.
yeah, about 5-10 minutes of the movie, yes, you've got the prince bouncing off Nagu,
Yeah.
and yeah, it really does. You sort of sit there and think, wow, this guy's not hanging about.
Yeah.
When he pulls in, excuse me, he pulls in the tradition that the prince has to cut his top knot off and leave the village, and
Right.
no one can watch him leave.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, so much for little sister.
little sister turns around and says, "No, no, no, I'm going to see you leave," and she hands him that
The little dagger. The little dagger.
dagger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the traditions are there, the history is there, and it's wrapped up in mythology. But it's at the same time, it's teaching you about the people, it's teaching you about their history, but it's also teaching you about yourself and your place in the world.
True. Definitely true.
So it does sort of, a lot of people don't like it, again, because of the violence, and I can understand that.
But that, I think, was probably also a second message in the movie. There is violence in the world, and that, you know, is unfortunately uninevitable. It's going to happen. It's going to be there. How do you, as the person, handle it? You know,
Yeah,
do you give into it? Do you create more anger and rage? Um, or do you find a way to fight against it, or fight if you need to fight? But if you don't need to fight, find another way to work it out.
true, but it's also, I think, it also, if you think about it, it rails against religion, because um, the lady and the monks, with permission from the emperor, go after the supreme god.
True.
So they are actually, they're going against what I would call the traditional Japanese religion of Shinto, which is working with the gods of the forest. You know, they actually go against this, and they actually go for the spirits and the gods of the forest. That's what they're aiming for. As they say, he gives life and he takes life. So they're trying to take him out to give the head of that god to the emperor, so the emperor can live forever. So it's a go against religion, as well as showing you the futility of violence.
True.
Well, at least, you know, that's how.
No, I agree with you. I was kind of thinking that because Ashita, he kind of makes that whole thing is he seems like the only one who, and there's a quote that he does, that you can see the world with unclouded eyes.
Yeah.
And he has his eyes very open to what's going on. And he sees both sides, not just one side, of the wolves, and not just one side with, both Lady, I can't say her name,
Lady Emishi.
Thank you. It's an early morning for me. I'm sorry. It's not been a real great day.
Yeah.
We've lost power here a few times, and it's just been weird. But he sees her side. He sees both sides, and he sees the forest god's side. So, I mean, he sees everything. And he tries to figure out in his best ability, how do we come to an agreement with this?
Yeah, how does the forest live, but how do the humans live?
Yeah. And he even said once, why can't we both live together?
Exactly. Excuse me, I've got a cough.
Oh, that's okay. I think you gave me your cold.
And if it travelled 6,000 miles to you, then it's gone a lot further than I have.
Well, let's put it this way. You're talking on a computer. I'm talking on a computer. We got a virus through the computer.
We got a computer virus.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll go with that.
That's what I'm going with anyway.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. I will give you that one. But I mean, this film, when you think about it, it came out 1997.
And he started working on it in 94.
That would not surprise me.
And you know why? It's so funny. It was started to be one of what is now considered a trope for him. Is a lot of his artists and other things came to him and said, well, you're getting older. You're probably not going to want to do all this much more time. Let's create this one great, big, wonderful film. It was a great, big, wonderful film, but I think he still continued to go on for a wee bit more. In fact, I have to laugh because it came out in 97, like you said. Do you know that it broke all box office records in Japan, and it was not broken again until Titanic? And then it was broken again by Spirited Away in 2001. And when it broke everything with him in 97, Miyazaki was like floored. He did not think it was ever going to get like that. And it was the first movie that had come out under the Ghibli Studios name at the time. And he had thought, okay, well, I do a lot of these shorter, littler films that have gotten some, awards and things, but nothing to this degree.
No, I mean, as of 2020, the film itself had grossed over $194.3 million.
Yes.
I mean,
that's it only took 20 million to produce.
Yeah. I mean, it makes you wonder, because it's all hand drawn.
It is
from start to finish. It's hand drawn.
It's all hand drawn, and I know was doing some research once years ago about it, And when you see, um, the first demon come through, and you see all of those worms, it was actually shot in um, level one shooting where you see everything across the storyboard. But at the same time, they also shot it in level two where they take out certain things and put it in different angles, and then they overlap them together.
Yeah.
So you see that movement of the worms and everything, plus, the movement of what was originally, the boar. So I thought that was really unique of the way that he chose to film it.
Yeah. In the English version, Nago is actually voiced by Joe DiMaggio.
I did not know that.
John DiMaggio is in the English version as Nago.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I know that Jaco is actually voiced by Billy Bob Thornton, which I thought was really kind of funny.
Yeah, he's Billy Bob Thornton. Ashitaka is Billy Cudlip. San is Claire Danes. Lady Emishi is Minnie Driver.
Yes.
You know, Toki is Jada Pinklet Smith.
Jada Pinkett Smith.
Yeah.
Yep. Um, Remember earlier when I was talking about, different things that was inspiring Miyazaki? Did you know that Irontown was actually inspired by John Ford with the westerns and all of the different western towns that he did?
Mm-hmm. That wouldn't surprise me.
I was looking desperately this morning too for something I was a little upset with. I think I mentioned before that I have some of the little the forest ghosts, the little kodamas. I used to have a pair of earrings of those because I think they're absolutely adorable, and I could not find them this morning. But they actually were inspired by real life folklore as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the natural scenery, I've just come across it because I've been looking. The natural scenery was inspired by visits to the forests of Yukushima.
Nice.
So he went to the forests of Yukushima. So it was. He returned to the film in April 1995. Began working on the storyboards in May. That month, Miyazaki took 4 of the art directors to visit the island of Yukushima, which had already inspired some environmentalists, especially in Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind,
Mm-hmm.
to achieve the environmental depiction that he was seeking to portray. So the 5th art director, Kazu Oga, went to the Shirakimi Sanchi Mountains to draw inspiration for the Emishi village. So,
Yeah. It's kind of funny because that right there is the third message he's trying to get through was the environment.
environmental part of it,
So,
yeah.
here we are now at a half hour, 20 minutes to a half hour because Princess Mononoke really doesn't appear until about the 22 minute mark or so. It takes that long pretty much for her to get introduced. So
Yeah.
we're here under 30 minutes and we've already had 3 major messages put up of what we should be aware of. And speaking of that, I don't know if you realize this or not, but um, Princess Mononoke is the longest running of any of the Ghibli movies. Um,
128, I believe, nearly 130.
no, it's 2:15. It's a total of 2:15 runtime, and he had said it was very easy. It could have gone on 3+ hours,
Yeah,
but Miyazaki said no. I think I can cut it down and make it shorter, and the runtime was actually 2:15.
I see.
And it, to this date, is still the longest running of all the animation films that he's ever done.
I knew it was a long film, but I've got a list of the accolades that he's won as well. It's quite quite a few.
Oh, lay 'em on us.
12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 awards, and it was nominated for another 3. In 97, it picked up in the Cinema Junpo, I think that must be a Japanese thing, the best 10 critics' choice, the best 10 readers' choice, and the best director's reader's choice. And then in the 52nd Manashi Film Awards, it picked up best film, best animated film, and best Japanese movie fans' choice. 10th Nikkan Sports Awards, it picked up best director, and the Yujiri Ishida, I'm butchering this Japanese, I do apologize.
You do it better than I do.
Yeah,
And
Yujiri Ishisha Award, it picked that up. This is all 97, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the first Japanese Media Arts Festival, it picked up the grand prize in animation. 7th Tokyo Sports Film Award, best director. Osaka Film Festival, it picked up a special award. The 21st Fumiko Yajami Award, it picked up a cultural award on that one. Golden Cross Award, 30th Japanese Record Award, Best Composer, Best Album Production for the soundtrack.
That soundtrack was amazing. And you could tell from its, it was darker than just about any of the others that he's ever done up to that point. And I know there were a couple other movies coming up that do get kind of dark as well with his musical scores. But you could see and you could follow the emotions. And I don't mean to be interrupting you, but since you had mentioned the musical, you could feel up and down with the emotions, whether his frustration, the anger of, the demon god, almost the love interest that was going on as well, between him and San. Because there was a love story in there as well.
As we were discussing in the last film, does the soundtrack go with what's happening on screen, with the graphics, with the animation? This is where both the soundtrack and the animation actually works together to create the whole damn thing. One would not work without the other.
Exactly.
It really, really wouldn't. I mean, as you say, that soundtrack, it takes you along. You can follow what's happening on screen, and then the soundtrack comes in, and you think, "Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that bit." I like, it takes you along. I mean, it picked up prizes in 98. It picked up prizes in 2000, and even the last lot I've got is 2001. It won the 27th Saturn Awards, Best Home Video Release. It won that. And it was nominated at the 36th Nebula Awards for the Best Script.
And for good reason.
Yeah. I mean, that's from 1997 all the way through down to 2001. It was still picking up awards.
Yeah.
So, it really did. And I mean, you got sort of side note here. Have you ever heard of somebody called James Cameron?
Oh, I don't know. Considering I've only been a massive Titanic follower since I was like in preschool.
Well, shock horror, he actually admitted that Princess Mononoke was one of the main influences on his film Avatar.
I had a feeling, because it does give you an Avatar feeling.
Yeah.
It very much does.
Yeah. So and you think when Avatar came out to when Mononoke was released, all that time had passed, and yet it was still influential enough for somebody like James Cameron to take from it and put into his film.
Oh, definitely. And that's one of the things when I went back and rewatched it. as I was kind of making that too, it's like there is a lot of Avatar influence,
Mm,
within it. And of course, it came first, so it had to influence Avatar, not the other way around. But
yeah, but it's influenced a hell of a lot of things.
it definitely has, and I think there's also some things that it took inspiration from, um, especially some of, for lack of a better word, the humor that
Mm,
is put in it with some of the characters. It almost reminds me of watching older Japanese movies, especially I had a very big Toshiro Mifune type with some characters. I could see him playing some of these characters because of what he has played in other things. And
yeah.
it's just that style of being humorous but serious, sometimes serious, almost into a violent movie, but just some of that off quibbing type humor.
Well, the last couple of films we've been talking about stage adaptations
Hmm.
of Mononoke had it as well.
I know Mononoke also has, before I forget it, a very short, I think it's about 20 minutes long, behind the scenes making of, and how um, Miyazaki went through different things to show where did it all come from. And I believe you can still find that on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, 2013, Studio Ghibli partnered with an English production company, the Whole Hog Theatre, and created a stage adaptation of the film. It premiered at the New Diorama Theatre in London after selling out a year ahead of time, and then moved to Tokyo later that year.
Wow.
So a year before it went on show, when it was finished and it was actually on the stage, it sold out.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, who knew?
Yep. I have a trivia question for you.
Carry on. I'll see if I can answer it. I probably won't.
Well,
No
actually,
matter
I have two trivia questions. Number one, do you know what the algorithm is for Princess Mononoke?
Do I know the algorithm?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Leprosy.
Leprosy. Uh, I suppose, yeah. Yeah, lady, what's her face, does have all the lepers working for her. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Miyazaki confirmed that that was what he had used, and that was the algorithm for it.
Okay. Okay. I'll go with that.
And number two, what is the one big thing with 97, 98% of Miyazaki films we do not see with Mononoke?
You do not see him in Mononoke.
You do not see.
Hmm. No, you got me there as well.
Anything with flying.
No, there's no
And
aircraft.
the reason he did that is, um, a lot of people that were close to him had said, you know what, in all these drafts and all these different movies, either you released or in the process of storyboarding, you have flying in too many of them. Even though, as we have discussed a couple of times before, Miyazaki comes from a heavy aerial background,
Yeah.
he chose to leave it out of this because, one, it wasn't fanciful type thing. It was serious, but it wasn't a modern day serious where we'd have airplanes or, hot
Yeah.
air balloons.
The mythology, the mythology of the story, I suppose, when you think about it, really, you couldn't include anything regarding flight.
No.
I mean, I suppose, yes, you could have brought in the birds, but that wouldn't. That's nature. Again, that's the nature. That's the nature side of it. So, flight? No, I don't know.
Yeah.
I, to be honest, I was too busy. I was too enwrapped in what was going on to even think about flight. I was more trying to unpick the story between the prince and Mononoke and the dozy lady from Irontown.
Okay. Because we are, for some reason, seeming not to be able to get a lot of the comments. And I knew there was a lot on earlier, but looks like StreamYard is having a hissy fit this morning. One of the questions that I remember, because it was short, was a question of, were the two main antagonist characters, the two females, were they evil?
Were they evil? That would that would rather depend on your point of view.
Mm-hmm.
From Lady, what's her name? I can never remember a sodding name.
I know what it is. I just can't say it.
Yeah. I've lost her name. It bugs me when I do that. I have the name and I go and move
Eboshi.
it. Eboshi.
Yeah. Eboshi.
Yeah. So, as far as Lady Eboshi is concerned, is she evil? Not to the lepers. She's not. Not to the prostitutes that she's brought out of the whorehouses and made a new place for them in Irontown. To those people, she's not evil. She's their, in a way, she's their guardian, their savior.
Correct.
As the leper that's lying on the floor and is basically dying at the time says, she's the only person that saw us as human. She washed our wounds, she wrapped our wounds, and she treated us as human. So to those individuals, she was not evil.
True.
As regards Mononoke, is she evil? Again, it depends on your point of view. From Mononoke's point of view, she was thrown at the feet of a god, the wolf god. She was left there by her parents as her parents legged it.
Yeah.
She tells you that. I think the big wolf tells you that itself.
Mora tells her that, yes.
Film, it says her parents threw the child at my feet and ran away. The wolf god brought the child up. Instead of eating the child, the wolf god brought the child up as its own.
Correct.
And I think at some stage, the wolf god actually says, my beautiful, ugly child.
Yeah, and then she reiterates beautiful as well.
Yeah, beautiful, ugly, beautiful child. So Mononoke only knows the world from that point of view.
Yeah.
From the wolf's point of view, from the forest's point of view. So for her to defend it, I mean, I think they call her San or something, don't they?
Her name is San, and do you know what San stands for?
I think it's an honorific, actually.
You're close, yeah.
It's an honorific, like, if you watch, I think, was it the James Bond film, he actually says Bond San.
Oh, no, it's not that, no. San itself means three, as in 3 children.
Okay.
Because she had 2 brothers, I'm assuming both were boys, and then her.
Oh, yeah, you had the two young wolves, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm still trying to learn the Japanese numbers, and yeah, it is. Yeah, I didn't think of that one.
Yeah, that's okay.
I thought it was more an honorific title.
No, my niece told me that one because she's seen it quite a few times and figured that one out.
Yeah, but I mean, no. Would I? Looking at the film, would I classify either of the female leads as evil? No. Driven, yes, very much so. They are very, very driven. Each will stand and fall on her own beliefs.
Correct.
And you cannot take that away from them. Evil as evil people? No. The only evil one I think in the whole of the film actually is the samurai leader.
Yeah.
He's the one that he plays.
He plays
Each
both sides.
female leads off against one another.
And isn't that Jaco? Who originally befriends the prince
No, he's
and figures out where he was at?
Yeah, no, he actually is a priest. Jago is
Not
a priest.
a very good one.
Yeah, not a very good one, but he's actually one of the priests, because he's the one with the piece of paper from the emperor saying you can take the guy's head off.
Yeah, that's why I never thought he was a priest.
But
I actually always thought.
Yeah, he's not in charge of the I can't find out, because they do actually say his name several times, and I can't find it. But the samurai leader is, I would say, is the evil one, because he just sets his guys on anybody and everyone. Because when the prince first gets there, the first thing he sees is the samurai butchering a village.
Yeah. Oh, and that reminds me now. Okay, you come from the prince's original village, which, cinematography-wise, it's a very beautiful setting. It's light, beautiful grass, beautiful scenery, very light. And watching it, you move on to that village that the samurais were attacking, and even though you can see, the battle going on and some of the heavy smoke coming up into the air, if you look at the village and you look at everything around it, it's still very light and, beautiful surroundings and things like that. But the second you hit Irontown, it's a very dark, closed-in, hard painting with the whole thing. The cinematography with that was very dark. And I think that also represents the fact we go from, I don't want to say good to evil, but I think that was almost another reference of good to evil.
I think it was also a case of, this is what it's meant to look like, i.e. the forest, and then you get to Irontown, where they've stripped everything away. And this is, I suppose, a backhanded way of saying, this is what we're doing to the planet. This is what we are taking all this beauty and we're leaving devastation behind us.
Yeah.
For the want of iron, coal, oil, or whatever.
Exactly.
Cadmium, all this stuff that we dig up out the earth. This is what's left behind. Take a look.
Yeah. And the earth is fighting back, and the forest gods are fighting back with it.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I've just found out here, Jago is the monk. He is a monk. Which, there you go. I thought he was more a trapper, but he's not. He's a monk. He's a monk.
He's an incredibly backhanded one.
Well, yeah, I was kind of working out just what we may be a monk of.
Exactly.
Because he's anything but godly. Let's put it like that.
No.
I don't think he's not a Buddhist monk, and he's certainly not. No, he's not a Shinto priest. So.
No, he's not Shinto at all.
No, he's definitely not any of that at all. So, but no, I still can't find this leader of the. Is it Gonza? No, Gonza's the bloke that's helping out the lady in the.
And he is so.
Yes.
I'll keep my mouth zipped. And then the gentleman that the prince rescues and is married to one of the workers in the iron mill. I thought she was hysterical with it. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. And then immediately turns on him, is like really angry with him.
Yeah.
But his whole response, like I said, was another. It threw me back to also, like I was saying, with the different actor and his viewpoint and his just how humorous he is, even though it's something very serious.
Well, he
You
certainly, I
know,
mean,
and Mifune is definitely that.
yeah, I mean, it's like when he brings those two lads back. One's an ox driver, and the other one's a rifleman, isn't it?
Yes, and it was the rifleman that reminds me of that.
Yeah, the rifleman thanks him, and it's the ox
Oh,
driver.
it's right. It was the ox driver that couldn't shut up.
It's the ox driver that got clobbered by the missus.
Yeah.
She's so glad to see him. Then she says, "How the hell are you going to drive the ox when you're all bashed up like this?" Because she turns around and says, "I thought made a mistake by bringing him back alive."
I know that was funny. It's
Yeah, I
like,
mean,
I'm sorry I did this to you.
yeah, there was humour in there at times, but there was also, bits of it that made you think, "Wow, where the hell did you? Which parts of your mind did you dig this bit of darkness from?" Because there was bits of it that you looked and you thought, "No, that doesn't."
Well, I think the bits that he dug from the darkness of his mind, think about everything that he had lived through from the time, he was born, then he lived, through World War II and saw everything that happened with his own country and the darkness and the evil that came from that. I think very much is portrayed in a lot of his writing.
There is certainly a lot of angst there, and it comes out in this film.
And that's why I said it truly surprised me knowing how much of, and I don't want to say, he's a pacifist, but he hates war, and yet he was so willing to incorporate so much violence into this for the sake of, quote unquote, doing good or showing how things could be different.
Yeah,
And it's the same thing of, you can be pushed and pushed. Don't ever take the first punch, but if you need to defend yourself, you better stand up and defend yourself.
yeah. But I mean, as I said, you get the same, although it's not quite as much in your face. You get the same sort of feeling when Howl's Moving Castle, during the air raids of Howl's Moving Castle, you see a lot going on, and you think, "Whoa, I thought this was Ghibli," but it's
Yeah,
Howl's Moving Castle in part has the same intensity of the fact that this is what happens when you just lash out. You don't think, you just lash out, and you strike. As they say, the moment you resort to violence, you've lost the argument.
exactly.
And Miyazaki in this film and in Howl's Moving Castle, he shows that very dramatically and very graphically, especially in this film. It's extremely graphic that he shows when Osaka is attacked by the riders as he's trying to get help for Irontown. Arms fly off, heads fly off.
Oh yeah.
And you think, whoa, you haven't prepared us for this.
Yeah.
But it's there, and that's life, unfortunately. Not all life is pretty and rosy. I mean,
not all life is a happy little goldfish swimming around in its bowl.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Sorry, Ponyo reference.
Well, yeah, Ponyo, exactly. And no suit sprites, though.
No, there were no suit sprites there either.
No, see?
But they had my second favorite things.
What, the little twiggly head things?
Yeah, the little forest creatures.
Oh, they're weird.
They're adorable.
They're naked.
So?
I'm just saying. I mean, when you first see him, all you see is this little white body with a head that suddenly goes twang, and you think, "Ugh." And it's not till they turn around to walk away, you think,
Oh, but did you notice when he's carrying the wounded um, rifleman? And he's
yeah,
carrying all of a sudden, you'll start to see two or three go through with the same thing with one on their back, like they were copying him.
yeah, yeah, because the ox driver turns around and says, "I don't think they're leading us home. They're leading us astray." And that's when the prince turns around and says, "No, that's where they live. That's beautiful
Yeah.
big tree." And you see
And
several
that
as you play.
immediately, that was the part right there. Immediately, I saw Avatar 100% right at that moment.
Yeah, yeah, but they live in the tree. Avatar lives. They live.
Yeah, and the well, not so much that, but if you've seen Avatar, you remember all of the, I guess, spirits is guess the best way you put it. Those little light, floaty things that all flew and lived with the tree and are connected with the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's kind of the same feeling that I was getting when all of these little tiny, the forest spirits all go through there, and then they're all over the tree. It's like no wonder that Cameron came up with his ideas. They were almost parallel to it.
Yeah, yeah, because they were part of. I mean, there is a part where the actual big life god is walking across, and you see the trees, and it's all green, and all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden these little white spots appear, and they come from sort of like the background, come forward, but then all of a sudden they appear in the foreground and go back, so it sort of meets in the middle of the screen with all these little heads bobbing,
I know.
and they all start clicking, and you think, whoa, weird
Oh,
people.
I just think they were just so cute.
Yeah, that.
So
I mean, if they didn't do the old wobbly head thing, then yeah, I mean, it's like trying to live with a bobblehead, I suppose.
hey, they're cuter than bubbleheads, unless we could get a bobbleheaded Tony.
Well, no comment. No comment. I mean, it's as a film, you sit and you watch and you think, where are you going with this? What are you trying to tell me? And then you sit there, and after the second viewing, you sort of sit there and think, what do you want me to do about it? And then
And I
after,
think
yeah, after the third viewing, you sit there and think, well, okay, I've got to get off me bum and do something, but what do I do and when do I do it?
I think the whole purpose is be aware, have your eyes more open to what's going on.
Yeah,
Um, and like I said, there was multiple different messages in this movie. Even if you take one of them and go forward with it, you can do better. And I
yeah. I
think
mean,
that's the whole thing is do better. Whether it's you're fighting with your neighbor, come see if you can come to some sort of a compromise so there's not that much fighting and discord. No, we're not expecting you to go out and stop, all world uh I was going to
conflict.
say world conflicts, I'm not expecting that, but you can start small and then it builds. We don't need to be all like the 8 people that was up there that was like, I think they wanted to eat all the humans because they wanted to absorb all the power, but they wanted to absorb all the power because I think they wanted to be more evil.
Exactly. I mean, it's just because somebody's different doesn't mean you instantly hate them, dislike them, or have to eliminate them, shall we say.
Exactly. If they don't harm you, you don't harm them. Let's see if we can work, together.
Yeah, you find it, you find a happy compromise.
Yeah. You might not necessarily enjoy some of the things that they do, but
No,
if they're not harming anybody or you're not pushing them to harm somebody, you attack, well, of course they're going to attack you, and vice versa. they attack you, you're going to reciprocate.
Yeah, but then again, in a way, he's saying that maybe you shouldn't just instantly reciprocate.
But you
You
can,
should think before you take that step.
true, but you also don't want to, okay, I've turned the cheek, I can deal with this. But if it keeps continuing,
Yeah,
you
if it
do
comes
need to
back
do,
more than once, then obviously you are going to respond, but then you have a measured response.
which is in the end of the movie, we kind of come to that conclusion of, okay, it won't stop. It can't stop. We can't really find a 100% solution.
No, I mean at the end of the film, I got to be honest to say that the ending of that film of Mononoke, there are times when you watch it and you think, "What the hell were you on when you did it?" To me, because sometimes it comes over really weird.
It does. It really does.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, the head, the the actions, the results, what happens on the ground, the people, and you think, whoa, you know.
It's like he's looking for his head and he just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And, you know,
Yeah.
that part I have always been confused on. I never completely thought, okay, you took his head, but now he's running around as a monster wanting his head.
Mm. It just reminds me of the ending of 2001: A Space Odyssey. You got a bit in the
Okay.
middle of 2001: Space Odyssey where the astronaut has all the flashy bits going on in his brain. And,
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right.
yeah, it's like that. It's a weird bit like that. You think, okay, what the hell's going on? I've been watching ancient Japan, and all of a sudden I've got this thing going ballistic, getting bigger, and he's looking for a little head in a little box.
But
How's that
that's
little
not,
head in a little box going to fit on that great big body?
yeah, it's
You've
not quite
muted
going to
yourself.
work.
No.
I didn't mute myself.
Yeah, it suddenly come up that you were muted, but never mind.
Like I said, StreamYard is being
It's certainly
bipolar
good.
today.
It's certainly hiccuping, that's for sure.
It is. It is. Um, One thing I did want to mention before we get too far going, it's kind of funny that this fell into, I like to do certain recipes with the program to,
Yeah.
to kind of fit in. And
Hmm.
I kept thinking, I'm going through it going, okay, there's not really that much that they show eating except for soup. And I'm going, okay, I've already done soup a couple times, but I found one that actually my daughter gave me to look at because this is one that she does. So I thought, okay, I can live with that. It's a rice noodle soup with shrimp. And I thought it did kind of fit.
Hmm.
So, anyways, I can actually give you the recipe if you wanted to write it down because I have not made it myself. She has. It's about 8 ounces of rice noodles, a teaspoon or so of sesame oil, a small carrot that's shredded or julienne nicely, about a pound of shrimp peeled and deveined, of course, 6 cups of chicken or vegetable broth, 1 inch piece of ginger that's been sliced or shredded up, 2 cloves of of garlic that's been minced real well, or you can use what we use instead of the cloves a lot of time is the not canned, the jar of garlic that's already minced. I don't like the smell of it on my hands, so that's the cheater's way to do it. I'm sorry. So,
Mum didn't like it, period. It used to have funny effects on her.
oh, I'm a huge garlicaholic. I mean, the more the merrier.
Yeah,
But
no, mum was never a garlic fan. In fact, there was times if she smelt too much garlic, she headed for the big white telephone.
oh wow, no, garlic and me. It's like you're supposed to be a vampire. How can you eat so much garlic?
Yeah,
Just
no,
my working nights so much.
yeah, I
But
can small amounts. I can handle small amounts, but
yeah,
again, too much of it, and I that's it. Yeah, I back
and
off.
and they have on here 2 green onions finely chopped, that you're going to hold those to the side, and then
Is
do
that spring onion or just ordinary onion?
that's a green onion.
Green onion. Okay.
And I said finely chopped and hold to the side. And then 1 tablespoon of soy sauce and 1 cup of baby spinach or bok choy. And basically, you go ahead and you cook the rice noodles to the consistency that you want them, but it's never very long with rice noodles.
No.
You go ahead and you put all of your other broth together and combine it. And then once all of that is in there, you can put in your ginger, your carrot, and your garlic, and get that so where it cooks in fairly well, and your soy sauce and things like that. Then go ahead and put in your shrimp and your rice noodles that's already been cooked, and then garnish it with the green
So
onion.
do you stir fry the shrimp or?
No, they cook in that hot broth.
Oh, they cook actually in the. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were going to stir fry
No,
them and then stick
but
them into.
yeah, you'd
Finish it off.
overcook them at that point. And it was kind of funny because my daughter is the queen of making come up with making different soups. And this is
Yeah.
one that I guess she does with her girlfriend all the time. Between that and egg drop soup, they do them all the time. So it's like, okay, I can use that one.
Yeah. You'll hopefully, you'll get somebody coming and saying, "Send me the recipe."
Hey, I have it written down. So because I
Yeah.
had to do it because what she does is she's like me. When she creates something, it sticks in her brain, and then she just creates it and then adds more to it or finesses it.
Yeah. Add that bit there. Take that one off. That didn't taste quite right. Let's switch it about. Yeah.
She's been doing, and it's been so funny. She's been doing her version of fish and chips, and I'm like, those are not fish and chips. Those it's that's that no, that's just plain old fried fish. But she makes a batter of different dry seasonings, the flour, and all the different dry seasonings that she puts into it. Rolls
Mm.
it in an egg wash, and then rolls it in this stuff, and then actually fries it, pan fries it, not deep fries, but pan fries it. And actually, oddly enough, it's really, really good. And she's been using tilapia and pollock for the two she's been using.
Well, the pollock, yeah. I mean, they use pollock over here. Um, Most of the fish in the fish and chip shops are normally cod or
Cod.
haddock. Cod or
Yeah.
haddock.
Yeah.
I mean, cod's getting expensive, so they're using haddock. But then again, they've now started to push the fact that it's cheaper to even use the pollock. Um, Most of the batter here, I mean, it's a crispy
Yeah.
batter. So
Yeah. No. Well, she loves going to
yeah,
our place, the Tetra Britain, which I've told you about before. I mean, she's been going to it since I was pregnant with her, so 20 some years. But
the thing is, the chips that you call chips, they're potato chips. They're the round
yeah,
stuff out of the package.
well,
The chips that we call chips, they're big, thick ones. You have little skinny ones called French fries.
no, the chips that we do, if they're fish and chips, are the true proper British chips.
The old tatty chips here. Cut them
Yeah.
up yourself.
Yes.
Yeah,
And that's what she does constantly.
yeah.
Constantly is doing that, and it has for years.
You see, that's different. I mean, most Yanks, when you say chips, they go, yeah, potato
They
chips. They pick
just
up a packet
potato.
of it, you think, no. And then you show them what you're talking about, they go, that's a French fry. No.
No, it's
And you
not.
show them a French fry, and you say, French fry, chip. Look at the difference. Skinny, fat. And they go, oh,
A lot of places here will call the fatter ones home fries,
yeah, I've heard that
and they're
before.
they're pretty much the same, pretty much. But
Yeah. But you sit there and you think, how did we get from, a chip, what we call a chip? How did you get from that to something that comes out of a packet that we call a crisp?
true.
It tend to baffle me, but I suppose.
Oh, okay. How did we get from cookie to biscuit? Do you
Pardon?
want to be particular? How did we get from biscuit to cookie?
Um, Again, exactly. How did we?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I
So
mean, it makes you wonder how. Then again, you see, the problem you've got as well is the different cultures within the American culture itself.
The great melting pot literally is the great melting pot of recipes.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, I know of, you've got German, Italian, French, Scottish, Irish, Welsh. I mean, that's a bloody big melting pot before you even start. And then you got the English on top of it.
And it's like for us, we have the Mexican, the Italian, German, French, Chinese, Japanese,
Yeah,
Thai, Filipino, um, uh, Colombian. Believe it or not, we have some very, very good Native American restaurants now too. And that's just the start. Not to mention, of course, there's some Irish. There's, like you said, some Scots, some a lot of English, but
see, I wouldn't have thought Native American.
major Middle Eastern stuff. Probably within the last 20, 25 years, we've had a lot of Middle Eastern, between Egyptian, a lot of places over towards Pakistan, Afghanistan, and a lot of places that are in Africa as well. And believe me, the food is very good.
I was just trying to think though, Native American. I'm trying to think of what dishes the Native Americans. I mean, I'm not dishing the Americans. Don't get me wrong. I'm not dishing them. I'm just trying to work out what dishes they would bring to the table.
Number one is decent fry bread.
Is what?
Decent fry bread.
Okay. I mean, I've not had Native American food. I've never come across it. So
wow.
I'm let's say I'm a virgin when it comes to it. Native American food. I have never had anything to do with it.
Fry bread is one of the all-time favorite things. And fry bread can be done sweet or savory. For lack of a better term, and I know that my ancestors and half my family are going to kill me for this, but for lack of a better term to explain to you, it is like a very rough pancake. You take hot oil and you have a mixture and you pour it into basically a cast iron skillet, and it puffs up and you make good fry bread with it. And then you can, like I said, you can make in the batter. It's what first already seasoned, with different seasonings, or when it comes out, you can sprinkle it like with cinnamon sugar and things like that.
Okay. As I said, it's something I've never actually run up against.
Cactus is good too.
Yeah, I've met Native Americans. Don't get me wrong. I've met Native Americans that have been in the U.S. forces. I have come up against Native Americans, but I've never come up against their cuisine, per se.
If you ever get a chance to try cactus, it's very good, and there's multiple different ones of cactus.
Okay.
It has to be prepared a certain way. Obviously, the prickles have to come off of it. It's sliced.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there looking at the sequoia. I mean,
Well, you have to be careful with the sequoia because it is protected in certain parts of the United States.
Yeah.
But yeah, in fact, we have a neighbor probably quarter of a mile from us that has cactus with the cactus flowers, and every year it's like, okay, when is it going to bloom? When is it going to bloom? Because we want to get those flowers. They are so good.
You see, I would have thought, now don't take this the wrong way, please. I would have thought Native American food would have been heavily based on like elk, deer, bear, rabbit, and then things like herbs and spices picked up from actually within the forests.
And you're correct, 100%. 100%. And there are a couple of very high end, I think three Michelin, I don't think they've gotten to four yet. Um, I mean, top end restaurants with that too that primarily do that. They do elk, they do buffalo, they do a lot of deer, a lot of moose,
Mm.
and they are seasoned with, a lot of the herbs that were naturally here, as long as also with the berries,
Yeah.
and that's some of the most absolutely delicious food you've ever tasted if you have the chance to go to one of those. And like
I
I said,
mean,
it's just now recently it's become more of a years ago. I would say probably in the late 70s and early 80s, we got the whole sushi craze. Well, now people are starting to catch on to what we've known probably since the beginning of time over here is that these foods are good too.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, as far as I can see, there's a lot of indigenous tribes that thrived on fish diets.
A lot of them that were coastal. And here in
Yeah.
California, believe it or not, a lot of the tribes are coastal. And one of the best things I have ever had, I got this chance to go up to along Oregon and into Washington at the time they were having their salmon festivals, where I walked through on one particular. I don't think it was part of the one of the reservations that was up there. I think it was an area actually that they were renting so they could get more tourists and visitors and things. And they
Yeah.
literally had like 100 feet long pits, multiple pits just dug in the ground. And then if you've ever gone back and watched like old movies or whatever, where you see that with the stick through the salmon and the salmon over the coals,
Yeah. Yeah.
strips of that long, full on half salmons. And it was like 100 feet and then another row of 100 feet and another row of 100 feet. And we came back actually from my honeymoon. That was when I was up there with my honeymoon. We came back, we had picked out, and then we came back, we drove back home with literally a full salmon because we bought two of the halves. And that was some of the best stuff that I've ever eaten in my life was to have it done that way, not,
Yeah. I
thrown over
mean,
the barbecue or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I knew Native Americans had their own cuisine. I just never come up against it. But I knew they had to have something because they sure as hell didn't eat the stuff that the the white guys were eating. That was for sure.
We, I have to laugh. When my daughter was a baby, I think maybe I've told you this story or not. We used to take her to all different sorts of ethnic restaurants. I don't think she ate a quote unquote American white food till she was like 10.
Mm.
Um, and we would take her, we took her when she was 8 months old to a restaurant down in Chinatown in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And it was non English speaking, no white people were in there, period. And it was one of the best places in the world to serve authentic food. And that's when she first got a love of chicken feet, duck tongue, and all these other things. And one of the ladies who was the waitresses, and she couldn't speak English very well, but she was kind of motioning to it, and she was like, baby, eat that." I'm like, "Yeah, take a look at her. Of course she's eating it." She's as she's shoveling it in her mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she was so mad. My daughter was so mad that she had to wait until after she was a year old to sit and have sushi because she would see us eating it and she couldn't eat it unless it was, you know, only the vegetable one. So on her first birthday, we took her and we sat at the sushi bar. And people were so mad because they're like, "That's going to be a waste of space. Why are you putting that baby?" And she was super tiny to begin with because she has dwarfism. So she was super tiny to begin with. And we put her there. And they're like, "You're taking up space at the bar, because that's prime real estate as far as that." I said, "Just watch." And I ordered stuff and started putting stuff on her plate. and she's grabbing stuff and just shoveling it in her mouth as fast as she can. And they're like, okay, we won't say anything else.
Well,
That's how she's been her whole life.
well, good for her. Good for her. I mean, I got to be honest to say that my palette is not that wide. There's a few recipes that I've come across that I guard jealously. Katsu chicken curry being one of them. Jäger Schnitzel from Germany being another. I love my Jäger Schnitzels. They're beautiful if they're done right. And a lot of stuff that my mother used to make from Scotland.
Have you ever, because it's the UK, have you ever been to a Punjabi restaurant?
A what?
A Punjabi restaurant?
A Punjabi? No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Their food is exquisite.
No. I must be honest and say that when it comes to the Indian curries, I am not a great lover of them. I don't say I haven't had them. I have, but I'm not a great lover of them. I think the last curry I had actually was a Nepalese curry, and it was goat.
Oh, that's good.
I'm not saying otherwise. It's just it wasn't. It's not for me.
It was a
I'm
little
not
too
saying it
gamey
wasn't
for
good.
you.
It's just
It wasn't for you.
Not
It
for
was
me.
probably too gamey for you.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not a red meat eater anyway. I'm more white. I mean, chicken, turkey. I'll be there all day, wolfing it down. But
what about ostrich?
Eh?
What about
Ostrich?
ostrich? Uh-huh.
No, never. Again, never come up against it. Never found anybody around that flogs it, so never come up against it.
I'm surprised there's not some sellers there.
No, I've heard people that have had it. They reckon again it's a gamey bird, but I don't know.
But
I mean, I've had pheasant. That was again not for me. I had pheasant. No. Plus the way that it's how we say shot.
Mm-hmm.
Not my idea of sport. That's not sport. That's a massacre. So
the only thing is, and I think I've mentioned this before with stuff, you got to be careful that all the pellets are out.
yeah. See, I had a friend of mine who at one time took me rabbiting. You take the ferrets to go catch them.
Mm-hmm.
And did I have a good laugh doing it? Yeah. I don't know who had more fun. Me, him, the ferrets, or the bloody rabbits, because everything was going all directions.
Oh, I bet.
Literally. I mean, he sat there with a ferret. He put a ferret down one hole, and he's sitting looking at this hole, waiting for the rabbits to come out. And all of a sudden, the dog sat there, the little Jack Russell, and it looked to where he was sitting, and where he was sitting, below him was another rabbit hole that he hadn't seen, and there was a rabbit sat there just sort of sitting looking up, as much to say, can't see me, can you? You know.
Why, when you said that, I was seeing a Bugs Bunny track?
I have no idea. But yeah, this rabbit was just sat there, as much to say, you can't see me, can you? And it was I mean, not that I'm much of a rabbiteer. I mean, I don't do it now. It's not my idea of fun. But yes, I have seen some weird, wonderful things and tasted some weird, wonderful things. I was once given snake a Nepalese or a Gurkha festival.
Snake is good. You just have to prepare it right.
But yeah, they have their own way of doing it.
Yeah.
The Nepalese have their own way, and as a people, the Nepalese, well, they are, a bit like the Japanese. Things are done in a particular way and in a particular order, and that's how it's done.
Yeah.
You don't muck about with it. And I think that's, something that I kind of resonate with. I'm of the age that I do things a certain way, and if somebody comes along and puts this to that end and then moves this thing to the middle, and I'm going down and I hit it, and I think, no, that's not right, and I have to move it all back again. Just me, just me.
The thing
But
I think I found I did not like the most of was alligator. It to me was a little
that
bit
is,
too
yeah,
muddy.
that is something that would not even be a blip on my radar. No
See
way.
that and monkfish, they're such bottom feeders and so close to the mud. That's all they taste.
Mm. You see, there's people that won't eat fish. There are people that won't eat pork because of the way pigs eat. I
Wild
mean,
pigs, yes. And sometimes wild pigs taste better. Wild boar, I'll be
uh,
honest, tastes better than supermarket because all the supermarket stuff is just plugged into, the same old stuff
yeah,
and chock full of antibiotics.
yeah. But I don't mind the odd, bacon or a nice piece of gammon. But I have to be in the mood. I have to be in the mood. Japanese do some nice pork dishes. I must be honest. I've
Yes,
seen
they
a
do.
few Japanese pork dishes, and I thought, oh, I may have to try them. But then it's finding the time and sitting to get to do them. It's there. I'll get there one day. I'll
Yeah,
get to it. I'll
you'll
get
get there.
just have to sit and work it all through. But anyway, so we get back to the film.
Yes, we should because considering it is like 8:30, we probably should.
Yeah, we should get back to the film.
Well, I did say dinner and, the movie and dinner, so we
Yeah,
covered the dinner part.
that was the dinner part. Yes, we certainly had dinner on that one. So back to the film, says they. You see, I always thought it was Disney, but it's not. It's Miramax.
It is Miramax, but here's the thing. It came out with Disney as well because it was already Miyazaki was already in talks with Disney before it was released.
Yeah. You see, the film's that old. It was actually first released on VHS.
Yep.
Um, and you can still buy the VHS copy. Surprisingly enough,
Now that does surprise me.
yeah.
I will be
I
honest
was
with you. That does surprise me.
I was checking out Ghibli films because I had a whole bundle arrive yesterday.
Oh,
Five
they
of them.
did come.
Yeah, all five of them arrived. They're there. All five of them arrived. Um, and I was having another look through because I found a couple of films there that I want. Up from Puppy Hill, from up on Puppy Hill is one. Um, I found The Boy and the Heron, but then I double checked it and I thought, no, that's a collector's Blu-ray edition that I don't really need. I just need the film. I don't need all the what they're putting in this other Blu-ray thing. So I'll have to go looking for that. Plus, it's A, B, C, and D region. I just want my region. I don't need all the other regions. So
um, did you know that Roger Ebert considered Mononoke the sixth in the top 10 movies of 1999, and that was 2 years after it was released.
really,
Yep.
no, I didn't.
And yeah, and I had mentioned this before, and I think I had gotten sidetracked that Miyazaki had already been doing storyboards long before. He was actually doing storyboards in like the late 70s and early 80s with this.
Yeah. Okay.
And of course, I think we had already touched on the fact that um, Mononoke had been, one of the highest grossing movies in Japan up until Titanic. But here's the thing. it today is still the third most popular anime movie in Japan. Spirited Away is right under it, and The Howl's Moving Castle is number 3.
Oh, right.
Yep.
I didn't realize that the soundtrack to this, the musical soundtrack to this film, was actually released on 3 vinyl records in 2020.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it was performed by the Czech Philharmonic Orchestra in 1998, and then all 3 albums were released on vinyl in 2020.
Interesting.
Yeah, the vocal theme was re-recorded for the English dub version by the American vocalist Sasha Lizard. She's the one that's on the American version. So it's an interesting little part for the music. I mean, they actually compare parts of the soundtrack to Stravinsky's The Rite of Spring, which again I never actually thought about, but yeah, I can see that. What about yourself? Do you see that, The Rite of Spring?
I don't see that, and I just discovered something I did not know. Remember how earlier I was saying that there was a documentary that was kind of done covering the film release?
Yeah.
And that was in November of 2001. Well, here's the thing. Apparently, there was a book with the same name that was published by Takama Shoten in October of 98.
Yeah.
Which I did not know.
No, I can't say I've come across that.
No.
I haven't come across that at all.
So apparently the early image boards of the film were compiled as a storyboard. Princess Mononoke, the first story, was published by Viz Madeira on October 21st of 2014 as well.
Okay.
Those I did not know.
No. I've just been, as you were talking and I was listening, just reading here that Miyazaki intended to portray the gods in the film as living animals tortured by humans, feeling it to be an important aspect to depict the relationship between nature and humanity. He was inspired for the film's concept by the Epic of Gilgamesh. From 2100 to 1200 BCE, that depicts the death of a forest god and the ruin of humanity. Now, I have heard of the Epic of Gilgamesh. I can't say I've ever read it, but I have heard of it. But if it's anything like Princess Mononoke, wow. That's all I've got to say to that. Well, wow. It makes you wonder. But I just, when you read it all about it, you think, he pushes this thing of environmentalism and the futility of war. I mean, there's an individual that actually was asked about the film, and he said he saw it as an elegy for a lost Japan.
I can see that. I definitely can see that.
Yeah. I mean, Japan, like most countries, has lost so much of itself to consumerism, which is a shame.
I think we're unfortunately going to continue to lose more and more.
Well, yeah. I suppose in one way, when you get old, you sit and look at the world and you think, well, I've seen and now it's my turn to leave it to what's left of what's left to humanity to see what they do with their little bit.
Yeah, that scares me sometimes.
It scares the hell out of me too, because there are so many things going on today that you can see parallels
Oh, yes, you
with
can.
what's happening now to what happened in the past, and believe it or not, with this film you can see
Oh, yeah.
parallels of people. This lot want what's here, but there's already somebody there who doesn't want to give it away, and so there's
Hmm.
a conflict there. And then if they do get it, then the destruction that they cause to you think, really, get on with it.
Yeah, yeah, and that I think is the same conflict that's been going on for thousands of years in that particular area. Same as a lot of the conflict that went on through Japan for thousands of years.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in lots of ways, the internal conflicts within Japan, or ancient Japan, as one group displaced the other, is very similar to what happened in the States for when the colonists first arrived, and the Native Americans were slowly displaced and moved around and ended up where they ended up.
And you know what's funny? You saying that you're a colonist and I'm a Native American, and you're having this discussion with me. That is hysterical.
Well, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose, yes. In my own country, I'm a colonist because my family goes back to completely different locations. I consider myself a Scot, but family goes back to France and Germany. So yeah, I'm a colonist.
Well, I am 60, was it 67 or something percent actually Eastern European, which is the majority of Russia, Germany, Poland, the Germanic areas, and the Russian areas. But I do have, the American Indian and a lot of the Swede, and I have some Viking descent as well. So it's like, this is a little bit strange. You hear all these different conflicts going on that was history. And it's like, that was actually part of my bloodline that went through that.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Some closer than others. I mean, some that I remember, like, I remember the numbers on my, grandparents' arms going through the camps. I remember their stories and stuff because that was my living history with them telling me. But then you go back hundreds of years and it's still within your bloodline.
well, yeah. I mean, I can remember my grandfather sitting me down and explaining um, why the German part of the family changed its name during actually the 1418 war. And my grandfather sat down and explained it to me as to why the name had to change. And in many ways, it was similar to the royal family. The royal
Yeah.
family prior to World War One were Saxe-Coburg. Then during the war, it changed to Windsor. My family from the German side had a similar situation. We had a previous name that was extremely Germanized, and it got changed. Yeah, move along. So we learned very quickly that we've pulled in old bits of the world, which I suppose is part of my philosophy, that we're all the same species, we're all the same individuals. What the hell are we kicking 7 bars of crap out of each other for?
Exactly. We're all the same. We all bleed red.
Yeah, we all breathe the same air. Our internal organs are roughly in the same location. colour of the skin and what have you, that's environmental.
Yeah, exactly. So is language.
What's your problem? So these people over there have learned to survive on less than what we've got over here. Instead of eliminating those people and moving into their location, learn from them. Adapt what we know and what they know, put it together. Who knows? You might come up with something that's a damn sight better.
Exactly. Absolutely exactly.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a peacenik or a beatnik, as they used to call them in the old 60s. But I fail to see why we're still resorting to basic caveman mentality. You're not my tribe. Let's bash your head in. We should have moved on by now.
True. It's taken too long.
Yeah. Instead of using a club to bash the head out of, we're now using ballistic missiles.
And I'm actually going to put something up on the screen that it's kind of funny. You sent this to me. I had actually seen it a couple weeks before, and I was actually going to use it, but I think it's kind of appropriate at the moment. So
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I was just okay. Definitely appropriate.
Yeah. I mean, Hayao Miyazaki, always believe in yourself.
Yep. No matter what.
No matter, yeah, because you'll always get your detractors.
No
I
matter,
mean,
yeah, it's like, so like you were just saying, why are we fighting over this? Just believe in yourself and in your ability to, for your small part of the world or your small part of the environment, make it better.
well, exactly. I mean, no one person like myself or yourself, there's no one person that can actually go around and change the entire world. That is beyond people like you and I. Not even your latest president has the ability to just press a button and change the world. That ain't going to happen. To change the world, to change how people think and act and react and interact, that's going to take all of us. That's going to take you, me, the guy next door, the person upstairs, and the person down the road, and the person across the oceans.
It is a
We,
worldwide effort.
yeah, we all have to sit down and say, okay, we've had enough of doing what we're doing. Let's try something different. Let's work together and see if we can come up with a new way of doing it that everybody can live with.
Exactly.
La La Land, a lot of people will say, but you know, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
40, 50 years ago, people said what we're doing now was La La Land.
Oh, I know. And if I still have to laugh because with the original Star Treks, they would pull and they'd flip out, their communicators. What did their
Yeah,
communicators become, 35 years later? Were the original flip phones. The communication screen to screen, like we're doing now, also happened during that time frame.
yeah. Now, believe it or not, here's a laugh for you. The first time I ever saw a program where you had screen to screen communication was, of all things, Jerry Anderson's Thunderbirds.
Oh, wow.
And I remember as a child sitting watching Jerry Anderson's Thunderbirds and seeing screen to screen communication with Thunderbirds. And I believe, and I've seen it since, um, Supercar and Fireball XL5 and Stingray had the same sort of thing, where you had screen-to-screen communications. And that goes all the way back to the early 1960s, beginning of the 1950s.
Yeah. The earliest I remember seeing it was, like I said, on the original Star Treks, then following through with Battlestar Galactica, the original,
Yeah.
with their inner fleet communications back and forth. That was some of the very originals.
Yeah.
And I just kind of progressed from there.
Yeah. I mean, I think when I first got my first computer, shall we say?
Hello, computer.
Yeah. It wasn't a case of hello computer. It was, oh, keyboard. How quaint. It wasn't just the computer you had to worry about. It was the damn cassette next to the computer. That was the bugbear.
Oh, those floppies.
Oh, the floppy disks I could handle. It was the cassettes. Because my very first computer that I ever had was a Sinclair Spectrum ZX. I think it was the ZX81, and it was an 8K machine. That was it, 8K. Really diddy, rubber keys, and you had a cassette, which you put an actual cassette into, and you loaded it up, which was fine unless you had a problem with the cassette player itself, and it had a hiccup, or the tape had a hiccup, and your program went pear-shaped.
Oh,
so
wow.
You'd sat there for an hour or half an hour downloading your program, and right at the end, and you thought, bugger, rewind, start again.
See, I remember the original floppies, not the floppy that later became known with the harder case.
Yeah.
But I remember the large, super floppies.
The big 5.5 inch things.
Yes, those drove me crazy. Yeah. Especially if you tried to work on the DOS system.
Oh, DOS. Don't get me started with DOS.
Okay. You ever try to play World of Warcraft on the DOS system? That's fun. That was when it first started to make its way in. That and Oregon Trail, the original Oregon Trail.
Yeah. I think the first big thing I played in DOS was, of all things, I've still got it actually, and a cassette in my cupboard, and it's a program about the Roman Empire, and you start with all the little bits of the Roman, like Britain, France, and all the other, ancillaries, and you've got to try and keep hold of them as everybody's attacking you.
That sounds a whole lot like it started out as a board game, which I really, really loved. But someone who shall remain nameless has gotten my attention back into it playing online, and that's Risk, where you have
Risk, yeah.
Yeah. And I did Axis and Allies too for the longest time.
Yeah, I must be honest, I've still got Risk as a board game. But another game I do like playing as a board game is Campaign.
That was good too.
Yes, that's chess orientated. That's a very good game to play.
I also have, and I'm hoping he's not listening, I also have one of my favorites is the North and South campaigns.
Yeah.
And it's a fun one to play too. It's a lot like Axis and Allies. Same thing.
Yeah, I've got Axis and Allies actually. I've got that, Axis and Allies. But you ever played Go?
Do you mean the card game Go?
Yeah.
Maybe when I was a child.
Yeah, that's not so bad.
I think at that point when it came to card games, I was playing the adult stuff, as in poker, 5-card Monte, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the one card game that I really like is Uno.
Una.
Uno or Crimes Against Cards Against Humanities is pretty good now too.
Yeah. I've developed more of a passion for whist these days. I quite like playing whist.
Mm.
But never mind. Never mind. Never
I
mind.
I'm a little cutthroat, a lot cutthroat when it comes to certain games. I do not. People will not play Monopoly with me unless they're at the same skill level. And my brother-in-law plays the same way I do. We
Yeah.
play cutthroat and underhanded, and it's war. It's full on war. And we will warn because they'll say, "Oh, can we play Monopoly?" It's like, no, we won't play with you. Oh, why won't you play with us? Because we play dirty and we play cutthroat. You do not want to play with us.
No, I got to be honest. I play Monopoly quite a lot. I've got a PlayStation version of it, so I can play Monopoly anytime I like. But
I
yeah,
never have liked the computerized versions of it because you can't.
cheat.
Okay, that too. But you can't see your opponent. You can't see what they're thinking. You can't see the little facial cues they're making.
Yeah, true. That's true.
And you also can't talk to them and try to persuade them out of certainly bad deals.
Or persuade them into a bad deal to your advantage.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose there is that. But when you live on your own, a computerized version of anything is better than nothing.
Oh, I remember playing, wasn't checkers, it was something else against myself. No, it was checkers against myself.
No, I've tried that, but I cheat a hell of a lot.
So do I. It's never fun.
Yeah, I cheat a hell of a lot. That's why I started buying this stuff as well. You see, because I can sit and watch this and start there and just keep going all the
Keep
way
going.
through, all the way through. So there's quite
Well,
a few weeks worth there actually to watch. In fact, I
oh,
think
definitely, definitely.
there's more than a few weeks worth. I think there's a few months worth there to watch if you start at the one end and work your way through.
I just noticed it is getting on to 9 o'clock.
Oh
And
wow!
because it is Super Bowl Sunday, I am definitely going to be starting to get house invaded and starting to marinate stuff and all that good stuff.
Well, yeah,
Some
you
stuff I
better
keep
get going.
for a day or so.
Yeah, you better get going, my darling.
So, our next program is going to be okay. What is today's date? Today's the 9th. Our next program will be on the 23rd,
Yeah,
Sunday, the 23rd.
and that will be.
Don't ask me, ask you. No, I've already programmed them, but I don't remember in what order they're in. I think it's Susan May, but I'm not 100% certain.
I don't think it's Susan May. In fact, I'm pretty
Like I
sure.
said, I programmed a bunch of them in there, and I don't remember in what order they come.
Your name.
Your name. Okay, so it's your name and then Susan May, or
It's your name. I think it's your name, Weathering with You, and then Susan May.
Susan May. Okay.
Yeah, we got your name because then Weathering with You sort of follows on from your name because the characters from your name appear in Weathering with You, and then Susan May's after that.
And then we have Pompoko, Wolf Children, and The Cat Returns.
Yeah. Yeah, your newfound favorite film, Wolf Children.
I loved Wolf Children. I cannot wait for that one. I literally cannot wait.
Yeah, well, I can't wait for Poco. I sat and watched it, and I've got to be honest and say I absolutely wet myself laughing. And
Told you you would.
when we get down to actually reviewing it, oh boy.
I told you it was going to be a good one.
Yeah, and I told you Wolf Children was going to be a good one.
Yeah. See, we tell each other the truth.
Oh, yeah. We go looking, we go finding, and we tell people, watch it, it's a good film, or yeah, it's up to you.
Yeah. And one thing I did want to say to any of our listening audience, we are so sorry. I know there were comments in there when we started. StreamYard is having a conniption and there is no sign of them. So I'm not sure what happened to them. If they do pop back up within the stuff, I will go through and personally answer the questions, at least from my end, um,
Yeah,
underneath.
the lad that did it last time gave us about half a dozen, didn't he?
Justin Fields.
Yeah, he
I
gave us
did
about half
not
a dozen.
get yours. I'm sure there were multiple others because I had already known of one from one of my friends that had sent one in. That was the one I caught real quick before
Yeah,
it all went kapoof.
yeah.
So
I
I
went
do
in.
apologize.
I did go in to have a quick glance at those questions because I wanted to be prepared, and no, they disappeared, and I thought, well, that's weird. Well, where have they gone? So,
Yeah, there was some technical difficulties going on. I know some of the
yeah,
background banners and stuff like that had also
yeah.
disappeared. So
Streamyard is being a silly bugger. There's not a lot
yes,
we
it
can do.
is. Hopefully, it will all be corrected by next time we do this.
Yeah, but hopefully by when your name shows up. I wonder if Justin's watched your name.
I don't know. And Justin, if you are out here, if you are listening, um, let us know. Also, Lethal, if that is you on here watching that's been watching this whole time, hit us up with some questions. And we'll definitely go through and answer them, at least on some. I'll go through and answer them individually.
Yeah. Anyway, you've got to go because you've got to prepare for your Super Bowl Sunday.
Yes, I do. And we are going to party hardy. Trust me. In
Yeah.
fact, you'll probably, I said this yesterday, you will probably be able to hear me across the ocean. It's across the Atlantic Ocean. So it's across the whole United States plus the Atlantic Ocean. And you'll still hear me yelling.
Yeah.
I don't,
It's the bad language I'm worried about though, dear. It's the bad language.
oh, I plan on turning the sky dark. And I probably will not be able to talk tomorrow.
Well, that's not surprising. That's not surprising.
So,
I shall have to wait until tomorrow morning, my time, to find out who did or did not win. I know who I want to win, but we'll wait and see if they actually manage to do it.
yeah. So I'm hoping for the three-peat, even though I have a sneaky suspicion the Broodies just may pull it out. Oh, there she goes
Quite true.
again. Okay, you're pulling my trick there.
Yeah, well, I have to. Otherwise, I'm going to blot everything out, and that's very impolite.
It
Most
would be,
impolite.
yeah. So, anyways, unless you needed to say anything real quick, all
Um, no, just if you can, like and subscribe us, come and join us. And if you really feel adventurous,
come join us.
join us on screen or throw us some questions. It's always nice to interact with people that are watching. I
Yes,
mean,
if you're watching or whatever, and you do want to be on screen with us with certain things, we can always go ahead and send you the link. That's not a
yeah,
problem.
that's not a problem. And I mean, it helps us because it will add to our little flavour because then we'll know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. Because we're not experts at this. We're just two people that
Even
love
though
anime.
it looked like we were in experienced text today with so many of the issues that were running, but normally
Yeah,
we're pretty good.
today was bad. Today was a bad day, but I think the program went reasonably well.
Oh yeah. But on that note, I will say once again, it is Super Bowl Sunday, so please, people, if you're gonna drink, don't drive. Call a Lyft, call an Uber, call a friend, call whatever you can, but please don't drive. And also, if you're gonna drink, don't drink to so much in the indulgence that you wind up actually endangering yourself. Be aware of what's going on around you, and everybody else out there who is not drinking but they're driving. Be aware of all the other idiots that are on the road. So watch yourself, watch your back, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Stay
Bye.
safe, people. Bye bye.